everyone, and welcome back. In this video, I'm going to be going over all of the books that I have rated 5 stars so far this year. I think I have 10 on this list. I've actually had a really great reading year, and I'm really excited to share all of these. A couple of these are like multiple books in the same series, but it's still really exciting to have so many 5 stars. I'm kind of still just figuring out what I really love in books, and so I feel like I'm having a lot of success with what I'm reading, and I just hope I'm able to continue finding books that I really love. So if you have any recommendations for me based off of this list, please let me know in the comments down below. I would really appreciate that. But let's just get started with the first book on the list, which is Emily Wilde's Map of the Other Lands. And this is the second book in the Emily Wilde series by Heather Fawcett. The first book I really liked as well. I gave it 4 stars, I think, 4.5. But this second book was my favorite in the series. But in the first book, Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies, we follow Professor Emily Wilde, and she is creating the first ever Encyclopedia of Fairies. She travels to a small village to study some of the fae there for her encyclopedia, and while she's there doing her research, her work rival Wendell Bamblebee shows up, and he involves himself in her research. And this series is basically Emily and Wendell's adventures studying the fae for various projects that Emily is working on. And there is an overarching plot as well, but each book has like a different project that Emily is researching for. For this second book, Map of the Other Lands, she's making a map of all of the doors to the fairy realm. And I have finished this series, well, I've completed what is out so far, and I love it. It's one of my all-time favorite series. I really love the characters in this series. Emily is really serious, she's kind of cold, she's not very social, and Wendell is like super charming. He's kind of lazy, kind of manipulative, honestly. But in the second book, they really ended up growing on me. There's a fun cast of side characters that changes with each book, but we do get appearances from the past side characters throughout the rest of the series. These books are written as if they're Emily's journals, and I really like that because I loved her as a character. I loved seeing her comments and her thoughts. I also really like the atmosphere in this story. It's kind of cozy, but with like a darker edge. I thought the fae and the fae realm were really interesting. I recommend this series if you like the more mischievous, cruel type of fae, unique characters, and like a cozy-ish atmosphere. There's 3 books out right now, but the author recently announced that there are going to be more coming. The next one is going to be about like the darker side of fairy, which sounds like my dream book. I'm so excited because darker fantasies tend to be my favorites. The second book on the list is Face Off by Chelsea Curto, and this is the first book in the DC Star series. And this one is definitely pretty different from the rest of the books on this list. This is the only contemporary romance I've ever rated 5 stars, I'm pretty sure. I'm not usually a big contemporary romance person, but something about this one, I really loved this. But about this book, this is a series of interconnected hockey romance standalones. So you could just read one, you could skip around, you could read them all in order, which is what I plan to do. But in this book, we follow the story of Emmy and Maverick. They both play for the same professional hockey team, the DC Stars. And when Emmy joins the team and meets Maverick, they have kind of a rocky start. We also see Emmy dealing with being the first professional female hockey player, and each book in the series follows a different team member of the DC Stars. I think a part of what really worked for me in this story is there's a really great found family in this, and that's something that's in a lot of my favorite books. I also like that we get a side plot in this one with Emmy being the first ever professional female hockey player, and I really enjoyed that plot. I think I just prefer contemporary romances when they also have a side plot going on. I also really liked the main characters for this one. I thought they had great chemistry, but if you're looking for a hockey romance with a great found family and a good plot, I recommend checking this one out. Next up is Daggermouth, and this is the first book in the Heart series by H.M. Wolfe. This is a dystopian romance set in New Haven. New Haven is ruled by a super corrupt president. There are rings in New Haven, and these rings separate people based on things like their wealth and their social status. The center ring is the heart, where all of the masked elite live, and then the outermost ring is called the boundary. And the farther out you go in these rings, the worse the conditions are. One of our characters is Shadera, and Shadera lives in the boundary. And she is a Daggermouth, which is an assassin. She is ordered to kill the president's son and heir, but she misses her shot, and she is forced into an arranged marriage with the heir, who is named Grayson, because the president sees this as a good way to send a message. I haven't read many dystopian books. This was one of the first ones I read, but I'm definitely looking for more suggestions because I really enjoyed this. The characters in this are definitely very flawed, but those tend to be my favorite type of characters. I also really love the side characters in this one. The main romance in this one was pretty good. It's definitely a real enemies to lovers, But for me, I really loved the side character romance. I thought the world building in this one was good. I was really interested in learning how the political system works, how the rings operate. I thought there were some powerful moments in this story that stuck with me. This definitely was full of twists and turns that kept me on the edge of my seat. The ending has me so nervous but excited for book 2. If you're looking for a dystopian enemies to lovers with shocking twists and turns, I recommend this one. Next up is Wild Reverence by Rebecca Ross. This one is a romantasy standalone, but it's also technically a prequel for the Letters of Enchantment duology. You definitely don't have to read the others to read this one, and vice versa. But I do recommend all of them. They're all some of my favorite books of all time. They're all 5 stars for me. This book is adult, and the Letters of Enchantment is young adult, so it's just something to keep in mind. But this story follows Matilda, who is a goddess, and a mortal man named Vincent. And Vincent dreams of Matilda even though they have never met. And so they meet in his dreams as a kid, but some circumstances end up keeping them from seeing each other in his dreams for years. But despite this, Vincent writes to Matilda on the worst night of his life, hoping that she will help him. But the letter goes unanswered and he becomes cold and irreverent. Then, years later, Matilda stumbles through Vincent's window with a letter for him, because Matilda has messenger magic and she carries messages through the realms. And the writing in this one is really enchanting and beautiful. It pulled me right in. I loved the characters. If you want longing and yearning over many years, Vincent and Matilda are perfect. Their story is beautiful. I loved reading about them. I will say I do think, having already read Letters of Enchantment and knowing some information about some of these characters did kind of add to it for me, but I don't think you need to read them first, or at all if you don't want. But if you want a beautifully written, enchanting story full of longing and true love, I really recommend this. This next one will be kind of quick because it's the 3rd book in the Emily Wilde series that we already talked about. So this is Emily Wilde's Compendium of Lost Tales by Heather Fawcett, and in this 3rd book we follow Emily as she makes a collection of lost fae tales. And I did like this one, I think slightly less than the second one, but very slightly. They're both 5 stars. There was just something in that 2nd book that just hooked me. But I will say we do see a lot more of the fae realm in this one, and I really liked that. I thought this was the last book because things do wrap up pretty nicely in this one, but I'm definitely excited for more, so I'm not complaining. But you can read what's out and not feel like things are left unfinished, so that's nice. The next book is The Mask of Mirrors, and this is the 1st book in the Rook and Rose trilogy by M.A. Carrick. And this is a completed fantasy trilogy. And in this one, we follow Ren, who is returning to her home of Nadezhra after she fled from a crime family that she was formerly a part of. And she has returned hoping to con her way into a noble family by pretending to be a long-lost cousin who's hoping to reconnect. And she gets involved in playing all of the nobility's games with all of the nobles in town to try to work her way up and impress the Trimentis family. And she also ends up getting wrapped up in trying to help figure out this nightmare magic that has started to take over Nadezhra. I have one more book to go in this series, but so far this is on its way to being one of my favorite series of all time. I gave this 1st book and the 2nd book 5 stars. The 2nd book is called The Liar's Knot, so you won't see that later on in the list. I'll just mention it now. But throughout the first 2 books, I've really grown to love these characters and the found family. The characters in this one are flawed, which, like I said earlier, those tend to be my favorite kind of characters. This is multi-POV with a few main POVs and then occasional side character POVs. And I really liked having all of those POVs. I feel like it was kind of necessary for this story. I really enjoyed all of the POVs. There were none that I wasn't a fan of. I think the magic system in this one is really unique. We have Numenatria, which uses ancient geometry. We have Pattern, that's like tarot. And then there's Imbuing, which imbues objects with powers. This is also on the darker side, which, like I said earlier, that tends to be my favorite kind of fantasy. There's creatures in this, which I love. That's also one of my favorite things in books. I found the plot really exciting and full of twists and turns that keep me on my toes. If you're looking for a finished, darker fantasy trilogy with unique magic and flawed characters, a really compelling plot, a good found family, I highly recommend this one. The next book is The Tainted Cup by Robert Jackson Bennett, and this is the 1st book in the Shadow of the Leviathan series. And this one is a mystery set in a fantasy world, and we get a new mystery in each book. But we follow Din, who is an engraver, which means he has been magically permanently altered to have a perfect memory. And Din is an assistant investigator to Anna. And Anna has a few quirks. A couple of these include that she never leaves her house unless she has to, and she always wants to be blindfolded. And so obviously this kind of creates some issues as far as investigating goes. So Din acts as Anna's eyes and ears. Din is able to go to the scene for Anna, and he's able to remember everything perfectly and convey that to Anna. The mystery for this first book revolves around the death of a high imperial officer who had a tree spontaneously grow out of his body. They also are dealing with the upcoming wet season when the Leviathans show up and cause trouble. This was honestly like my perfect book. I love mystery books, I love fantasy books, so mixing them was great for me. I think both the mystery in this one and the fantasy elements were really well done. This magic system with the alterations was really interesting. The fantasy world this is set in is detailed and unique. The mystery was really compelling. The Leviathans add great tension. Like I said, I love creatures, monsters in my stories. I really like that the mystery gets wrapped up in this first book and we have a new one in each book. I think there could be somewhat of an overarching plot throughout this series, but our main mystery does wrap up. I love both Din and Anna, individually and as a team. Din is a pretty serious guy and Anna just loves to embarrass him. I think they're so funny. And she is just such a fun and unique character. But if you think you would like a mystery set in a fantasy world with fun characters and a new mystery in each book, then I would check out this series. Next up is potentially my favorite read of the year, although there's a few on this list that could take that title. But right now I think this book is in the lead, and that is Rights of the Starling, and this is the second book in the Shield of Sparrows series by Devney Perry. This is the second book in a fantasy romance trilogy, and in the first book, Shield of Sparrows, we follow Odessa, and Odessa is a princess. And Odessa's sister has been training her entire life to be the sparrow and fulfill the Shield of Sparrows treaty. And in order to fulfill the treaty, a princess is married off to another kingdom to keep peace between all of the kingdoms. But when the prince arrives, he wants to marry Odessa instead of her sister. So Odessa is forced to learn her role overnight before she has to take off for her new home. They also face the threat of the Crux migration, and the Crux are these monsters that are like giant birds, and when they migrate, they attack anything they fly over. So this has been historically a very deadly event. The first book in the series was like a 4.75, so unless this last book is like really awful, this is probably also going on my favorite series of all time. I really love the monsters in this. There's more than just the Crux, there's a variety of different monsters, and we get to see more of them and learn more about different kinds in this book. The monsters add great tension on to what's already going on with the plot. We got more world building in the second book as they did a lot of traveling. We got new characters and new POVs in this second book that I'm really glad we got. I really enjoyed them. This book is like a puzzle that kind of slowly comes together as you read in ways that I just never saw coming. And the twist in this one absolutely got me. And once all the puzzle pieces came together and everything snapped into place, I was just really shocked. The fantasy elements in the plot really feel like they just went to the next level in the second book. I love the first book, but this second book is better. If you want monsters, great world building, and a story that unravels and slots together in ways that I never saw coming, then I would give this series a try. And the third and final book has been announced for 2027, I believe, and I'm so excited for it. All right, the last book on this list is Heir of Fire by Sarah J. Maas, and this is the third book in the Throne of Glass series. And this is a completed young adult fantasy series. And in this one, we follow Selena Sardathian, who is an assassin. And Selena was captured and sent to Endovir prison, where she is meant to stay and work in salt mines for the rest of her life. And then the prince and the captain of the guard show up and offer her a deal. And this deal is that she will come to the castle and compete to be the king's champion. And if she wins, she will serve the king for a set amount of years and then she will have her freedom. So she accepts this deal and heads to the castle. But that's just where the story starts, but things really evolve throughout this series. And the path that we start to take in this third book really hooked me in. This was my first 5-star in this series. And I liked the first two a lot, but this one just really took it to the next level for me. We got some new characters that I'm really excited about. We see more of the Fae and magic. We see more of the world. This one really felt like an important turning point in the story, and I really can't wait to see what's to come. But if you want a finished series with fae, a great epic fantasy plot, with a touch of romance, with great characters that we really see a lot of growth from, Selena is on her way to being one of my favorite FMCs. I definitely think you should check this one out. But that is all of my 5 stars so far in 2026. Let me know in the comments below if you have any book recommendations for me, and also let me know what your 5-star reads have been this year. I'll leave my Instagram and my Goodreads in the description if you're interested. I would really appreciate it if you check them out. But I hope you all enjoyed this video, and if you did, please leave a like and subscribe. I would really appreciate it, and I hope to see you all in the next one.